driving for McLaren is, I can't even really say a dream come true, because growing up as a young girl in New Zealand, you know, driving for McLaren, a Formula One team, never ever would have imagined it happening. So proud of the McLaren brand in New Zealand. I think Extreme E is the motorsport that I've enjoyed the most. I think simply because it's given women an opportunity to be competing on a world stage, equal opportunity to men, and it's really showcased the talent that we have with females in motorsport.
So I got interested in engineering when I was about 9 or 10. My parents were quite keen that when we broke our toys and stuff, we could repair them. We were living in India at the time. So we kind of extended that as kids to taking things like the radio apart.
So I remember being very young and my parents had a red Datsun car. About 3 years old is my first memory of it, and I absolutely loved the car. I loved going in the car, I loved the idea of driving it, and I loved the idea of seeing how it all worked. So that was really probably where my interest in engineering began.
So I think when you've got someone around you that's interested in the same stuff, it helps you to kind of develop and grow that interest. And we did the same sort of stuff because we were 3 years apart at school.
I think we fed off each other mainly. You know, and obviously things always get a bit competitive between siblings. If you play a game of football or tennis or whatever, you're always going to compete with each other. But I think it was just as much feeding off each other as competing with each other.
With Extreme E, with sharing a car, there's the challenge of having to share your car with another driver. So it's a challenge for our engineers, because they've got to work out the feedback that we both give and understand what we're asking for, and then give us a car that we're both kind of happy with. It's actually really great working with Tanner. We've worked out what each other likes over the last year, and we sort of both compromise enough so that we end up happy in the car.
The hardest thing about my job is actually managing everything that's going on, so it tends to get fairly full on. So the way Extreme E works, it either goes from being very calm and relaxed on your prep days and your setup days to being very, very full on the race days. They're quite packed. There's a lot to do, there's a lot of systems to manage.
As a race engineer, you kind of are like a conductor of an orchestra. You have a lot of inputs from a lot of different people, this is in any race series, and sometimes you aren't really an expert in all of those fields, so you have to kind of get the information from the people that you are collecting it from and adding that together to kind of see the bigger picture.
So in a couple of weeks' time, we've got the Otago Rally, which is my home event, and yeah, we're going to be debuting a new car, which is very exciting. Being my hometown event kind of adds pressure, but not really, because it's actually my favourite event in the series. Has amazing roads, whatever direction we go, whether it's north, south, you know, they're fantastic roads. They're very, very fast. I'm hoping that dust isn't going to be a problem this year because it's been so dry. So yeah, as long as we've got good visibility, it'll be a huge amount of fun.
One of my earliest engineering projects was actually working on a land speed record car. JCB currently hold the diesel world land speed record. And I had the opportunity to go and work on a crew with that car, and that was by far one of the most fascinating projects because it's so different from anything else I've done, and probably anything else I'll ever do again.
The Le Mans wins, there were 3 as a race engineer and 1 as an assistant race engineer, and all of those were achieved in a 10-year time frame, which there's some people that can go to Le Mans for like 50 years running and not get a win, so I think without doubt, hands down, that's got to be right up there.
One of my most enjoyable times was working on the simulator development at a previous team that was in Formula One, and that was fascinating because it gave me the opportunity to really sort of exercise the scientific and maths brain, and you know, and have a sole focus of something to work on. And then one of the other projects I really enjoyed the most was actually joining a rally team. So I worked for ProDrive for a number of years. And it, you know, I'd always been into Formula One, but it opened my eyes to rallying, and rallying is really the sport that I love.
So the one event that I'd like to do, and who I'd like to do it with, or challenged, I think I'd really like to do the Dakar Rally. I think that would be cool. But Tanner's been talking about it this week, and I think Pikes Peak, that would be a pretty iconic event to do as well. So let's say Pikes Peak, and I'll pick my teammate as my challenger.
I think the big thing is you need to go and get experience because there's so many different roles in engineering, whether they are with the race team, trackside, or whether they are back at base at a factory. And you kind of need to know what you like, because a lot of what we do when we're away with the race team is a lot of traveling. You're away from home. You can be away for a long period of time. You can go to places that are great. You can go to some places that you don't really like so much. Getting a race win is always great, but the process to get to that point, you always look at all of the steps along the way and what was good and what was bad. And I think that no race is ever perfect, no event is ever perfect. And for me, as a team, if you've gone from the beginning of a race weekend to the end of the race weekend and made constant improvements, not just in the car performance, but also in the team behaviour, that's like a really big part of what we do. And there's a lot of satisfaction in that because it shows that everyone's dedicated and committed to what we're trying to do. And if you're in the right place with that kind of preparation, getting race wins becomes just that much easier.
With my motorsport background, becoming a rally driver, to then be able to drive for the most iconic motoring brand in the world, amazing. Still pinch myself, still gives me goosebumps.